Hello everybody, I am Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, and I think it's been a month, I swear to god I didn't plan this out, since early access for Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail. So, how's it holding up? How am I feeling about it? What's my updated impressions like for Dawntrail, now that we're a good chunk of time into the thing? And honestly, I've been really enjoying it. Look, we don't need to rehash the story, because honestly, my thoughts on it have not particularly changed, and to give a brief recap, it's my least favorite expansion main story they've done in terms of a 0.0 story. Far too much telling not showing, combined with poor pacing, and way too often there was a lack of interesting things to do, and I think the story to gameplay ratio, even for Final Fantasy XIV, was pretty poor this go around. Combine that with zones that didn't particularly do much for me until the last two, and yeah, the story's not particularly memorable for me, but there's some elements that I do genuinely enjoy, especially in that second half. And I know I just talked about how I didn't like the zones all too much, but I did say until the last two, because those two are two of my favorites. They're really pretty to look at. My thoughts on Wuklamot have not changed whatsoever. I still think she's one of the worst written characters they've ever done, largely because she's like a victim of the writing of Dawntrail on the whole. Again, telling not showing, a lack of interesting things to do, and when you're trying to actively develop a new main character, having repetitive dialogue with repetitive themes and messages shoehorned down, or just throughout the story, combined with a lack of interesting things to do on too often a basis, and with what I kind of view to be poor voice direction across the board with Dawntrail, at least for the English localization, and yeah. Look, it's been talked about to death at this point, and we don't really need to dredge it up and act as if it's a new point of conversation. But things like the Arcadian really give me hope and optimism for the storytelling going forward. Stormblood wasn't the best thing they've ever done, but the patches of Stormblood are some of my favorite, well, story full stop they've ever done. It's one of those wait and sees, you know? But speaking of, again, good god, do I still love the Arcadian. My glowing thoughts about it have not changed since I first did it, and now I've done it also on Tank. And I still love all the fights. They're cool, they're unique, they're imaginative and innovative and creative. The mechanics are fun, while still feeling like Final Fantasy XIV. The stuff with the announcer narrating over your matches is great. Or A3 roiding up in the middle of the fight. It's great. Knocking the referee out, it feels so wrestling inspired. And I love the fact they leaned into it, because a lot of what I wanted out of the MSQ for a lighter story with lower stakes, I didn't get from the MSQ, but I got in the Arcadian. And I'm arguably looking forward to it more than I am the MSQ. And at this point, I need that alliance raid. And yeah, I still think the dungeons and the trials and the raids are some of my favorite 0.0 stuff they've ever done in Final Fantasy XIV. It's really high quality. I love running these dungeons. I love tanking them. I love doing the raids. I look forward to reset every week just so I can do them. They really nailed the actual content in Dawntrail outside of the MSQ, in my opinion. They're a ton of fun. I like the expert dungeons, though this game absolutely refuses to give me the one set in the 6th zone. And I think the biggest takeaway is something that's not surprising. At the end of the day, it is Final Fantasy XIV, and the content cycle is rather predictable. We knew what we were getting, but the gameplay we got so far has been really fun. Even if endgame feels a little bit sparse right now, even though it kind of isn't if you want to do everything on offer, because I still have not even touched gathering and crafting, and there's so much I can do in that regard. I still have to do all my role quests. I'm still leveling up my tanks and stuff like that. I have plenty of things that I can do, and I haven't even touched the treasure hunts yet, if that's even implemented yet. There's so much to actually do, but the stuff I particularly care about is not in the game yet, like the new boss ship, pretty much. That's not even in the game yet. We don't have the new deep dungeon. We don't have a lot of things yet that's going to come down the line in the patches of Dawntrail, which can make the release of a Final Fantasy XIV expansion, because this is a regular occurrence for them. It can make the release of a Final Fantasy XIV expansion feel a little bit sparse. And this is also kind of a regular thing when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV, where sometimes it feels as if there's nothing to do, when in actuality there's a ton you can do. Like right now I'm catching up on Hildebrand on stream as well. I'm almost caught up fully, and I've almost got my fully loaded Mandeville Dark Knight weapon, because I'm an actual fiend for giant swords when it comes to my games. So I think my game plan, until at least like 7.1, is to do a lot of alt leveling. I want to get my tanks up to par. I want to get them all to level 100, and then I'll probably start to dip my toe into the Gatherers and Crafters if I don't do that before, mainly because your boy loves Gil, and I already had a drop 7.5 on that goddamn motorbike, which I don't regret, but I'm just saying. Yeah, my coffer's a little bit empty at this point. I've also been getting back into Fate grinding, mainly because, again, I like money, but also they've been a pretty decent source of XP, especially in between dungeons popping in my queues. Now, granted, I'm leveling tanks right now, so I haven't had too much of a concern about that, but every now and then just hopping on over to do a few Fates, yeah, sure, it's kind of brain dead, but it's relaxing while I have a YouTube video up and watching that or something. And when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV, I'll take pretty much any excuse to just go out in the open world. Now, I have been on my glamour stuff right now, yeah? Like, there hasn't been too many non-artifact sets in Dawntrail that I've been like, ooh, I really need that besides the Tombstone gear, but particularly also the level 97 dungeon. Yeah, the mech suits. I'm farming that. Whenever I get a tank level to level 97, I halt running anything else. I'm just like, okay, I gotta spam the level 97 dungeon. Now, granted, I get every other piece of fending gear but the chest and the helmet, which is kind of pissing me off, not gonna lie. But hey, at least when I get them, I'll have, you know, my hands, legs, and boots sorted. So yeah, overall, I am really enjoying Dawntrail. While the MSQ wasn't particularly my cup of tea, the rest of it largely is. And I've been having a blast. And I think getting back into tanking after kind of not tanking for an entire expansion has really revitalized my interest in just simply playing the game. I am absolutely looking forward to the content coming down the line, and I am a little bit impatient in terms of waiting for it to actually, you know, come into the game, but hey, when I take a step back and actually think about it, one, they've always done this, but two, it's probably a blessing in disguise, so I actually have time to level up all the jobs I want and get everything sorted, because I would like to do all the crafting and gathering stuff in this game as well. Yeah, overall, I think Final Fantasy XIV is in a really good state, and that's largely because the actual content you play through is really fun, and I think most people on the whole, at least from the reactions I've seen, are really receptive to the design changes when it comes to Dawntrail's actual gameplay. Job changes are here and there, but the actual content we're doing is a ton of fun and is extremely replayable, and for an MMORPG, that is paramount, that is extremely important. So yeah, while a lot of my thoughts haven't particularly changed since my initial impressions when I first beat the MSQ and all that, I am still largely of the opinion that Dawntrail is an experience that's going to get even better down the line. I don't know where the MSQ is exactly going to take us in terms of the overall quality of it, because it could easily rebound and be amazing, right? At least in my opinion. But when I'm looking down the barrel of the gun, proverbially, and I'm looking at the content coming into the game down the line with the patches, after how good the Arcadian was, one, I'm looking forward to tier 2 and 3, but also give me that Alliance raid yesterday. On top of that, I really want to do the variant dungeon, I want to do the deep dungeon, I want to do every piece of gameplay coming down the line with Dawntrail. I'm a little bit screwed right now when it comes to Savage because I just don't have a group for that, but outside of that, the gameplay has been so good, I just want to get better, one, and then two, I just want to play everything. I'm looking forward to every patch and what can come into the game because of them. But we also have to be a bit fair here, and that Final Fantasy XIV is largely a story-focused game. The game doesn't shy away from that, it embraces that idea, and when a story can be a bit disappointing, especially in a story-focused game, it can be a bit more impactful than you may originally think. I would be way more pessimistic about the potentialities of the future of Final Fantasy XIV and the direction that the story is going to go if we didn't get the Arcadian, and if the Arcadian wasn't as good as it ended up being. And I'm not just talking about 1 second. Downing like a third of a bottle of hot sauce will do things to you. But even after a couple of weeks removed from doing the story for the Arcadian, I still think it's really good. It's lower stakes than everything else, sure. Like, we're not trying to revitalize an entire planet or whatever, or uncover giant existential mysteries of the past. But there's interesting motivations, good characters, actual character development that's interesting, dialogue that's not not poorly written. It's just fun. And it's lower stakes to be sure, but the stakes that are there are still interesting. Having the Warrior of Light try and liberate all of the souls that the Arcadian uses, yeah, sure, why not? That's a cool enough of a premise. It's believable enough for me. And the characters are fun, and they're new, and they're interesting, and they don't just repeat the same 3 lines of dialogue and the same theme over and over and over again, to where they don't feel as if the writers are just using these characters as a vessel to yap about the theme they want to shoehorn into the game. These characters feel kind of organic. And if the storytelling can go in this direction in the Dawntrail patches, then I'll be satisfied in that regard, and I'll be happy. I think 0.0 at the best of times when it came to its story felt either way too slow for large sections, or it went way too fast and didn't let things breathe enough. I'm hesitant to say they try to tackle too much when it came to the MSQ. I just think the stuff they did tackle was tackled poorly. There's too many wide swaths of it where there's just not interesting things to do, where you could have inserted something interesting there to better develop these characters in these locations. I do not like the idea of anyone but the Warrior of Light being the main character for an MSQ. Like, you can have like a 1B to the Warrior of Light's 1A. You can do that. And again, this is all personal preference, but in an MMORPG that has focused so much on the Warrior of Light, and with me playing as my character, I want to be the main character. The Arcadian does this for me. You don't have to have every story be on like the levels of existential dread and purpose like Shadowbringers and Endwalker, but like you can't just sideline the person you are playing through and have the Warrior of Light act as a glorified cameraman. I just don't think it works. I think it creates a weird disconnect between the story going on and you playing, and there's too many moments throughout the MSQ that feel poorly written and paced because they just don't know what they want to do with the Warrior of Light or the Scions, and too often do like things happen in the plot that just feel not believable because the characters involved have to behave wildly stupidly when they shouldn't. During the invasion of Tuliolol, when Gulul Jar Jar died, I talked about this before, but having everyone just stand still and trying to respect the 1v1 during an invasion is, in my opinion, an indefensible cutscene. Like, that's just bad. It's poorly explained. I don't care about one line of dialogue afterwards trying to, like, justify it. It's not believable, and it reeks of stupidity and just poor writing when you could have done anything else to achieve the same result. And there's too many scenes in Dawntrail where we're spending way too much time learning about farming techniques and, like, heritage found. Who cares? Like, this is side quest material. This is what that stuff is there for, to expand the world in this way for those who care. I don't. Why is this a giant part of the MSQ? There should have been, like, a couple throwaway lines of dialogue. That's it, if anything. So yeah, I think my game plan right now is to finish leveling up my tanks and then really go hard in gathering and crafting. I want to be squared away for when cosmic exploration and stuff like that comes into the game. I think the patch cadence for Dawntrail has a lot of potential to be hype every time it happens, because if the content can maintain this level of enjoyability throughout all the other kinds, and if they're able to rein in and really hone in and nail down the reward structure going into the future, especially when it comes to things like variant dungeons, like, I'm so excited. Like, imagine how good the new boss could be with a Lost Action-esque system, but with the fight design of Dawntrail. This could be so good. So yeah, while DPS has been kind of bland for me for the last, like, expansion or two, tanking has been a ton of fun for me, even if there's some problems with the tanks, like I talked about in yesterday's video on Dark Knight. I think overall, I'm really optimistic about Final Fantasy XIV. So yeah, with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video and you want to see more content. I greatly appreciate it. And also, leave a comment down below with how you are feeling about Dawntrail now that we're about a month into it. Have your opinions gone up? Have they gone down? What has been your favorite part of Dawntrail so far? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.